My name is Saviksha.
My name is Poppy.
It's me, your Prairie Queen, Francesca Dynamite.
We are Louder Club, and you're watching Queer in Alberta.
Welcome back to another episode of Queer in Alberta, the podcast where I talk to 2S LGBTQIA+ Albertans to share their stories. My name is Kelsey, but you can call me Kels. I am a queer Filipino-Canadian, and I use she/her pronouns. And I filmed this series here on Treaty 7 territory, here in the city of Lethbridge, home to the Blackfoot Confederacy and the Métis Nation Region Number 3 of Alberta. This episode, our guest is joining us from Calgary. You may have seen her on social media, particularly her reels. They're always popping off on my feed. But we have the one, the only Queerly Saviksha with me.
Hey, what's up? So I'm Saviksha. My pronouns are she, her. I live in Calgary. And I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, we're so happy to have you.
Yeah, this is my second time in Lethbridge. But the last time I came here, we were here in the middle of winter.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I was in university or something at that time. But yeah, I'm seeing a different side. I haven't been downtown or anything, but it's a sweet, quiet.
I mean, that's
town.
exactly
Yeah.
it, right? Downtown Lethe, downtown Calgary, two different experiences.
Yeah.
But you're getting your prairie girl realness right now. That's what's happening.
Yes. It's different. It's interesting. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's so amazing to have you on the show. And I'm just so excited because, as you know, intersectionality and culture, these are experiences we carry with us as queer people.
Mhm.
And I have not had the opportunity to chat with people from a South Asian or Indian background. So you mind telling us a bit about your experiences being queer and Daisy?
Yes. So a little bit about my background. I'm Desi. I'm born in India, in Madurai, so South India.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Qatar. So when I was 2 months old, we moved to Qatar.
Wow.
And I grew up there. And when I was 16, I moved to Lloydminster, which is where close to your hometown.
Hilarious.
Yeah. So it was really different. So like plus 50 weather to minus 50 weather. Totally different demographic of people.
Mhm.
All the TV shows that I watched growing up, like The Secret Life of an American Teenager,
Right.
and This Is Life with Derek. I don't know, all of these different shows.
Iconic.
I was like, oh, people are partying and they're drinking and people are getting pregnant. It was just nothing was wrong or bad or good. It was just everything was different and very exciting.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was the background of who I am and how I got to Canada. Moved here with my family, and then I eventually moved to Calgary when I did my university.
Right.
And yeah, and I've been there since, and met my wife, and yeah, continuing life there. And intricacies of intersectionality, being Desi and queer. It's I'm sure you, as someone who's Filipino, have also gone through this.
Mhm.
For me, it was interesting because I told my parents I was bi, and for them, they said everyone's bi. No, not everyone's bi. No, what did they say? They said when I told them, first of all, I didn't know what bi meant or queer
Right.
meant.
Did you find all those terminologies when you came to Canada? Or was it?
Yeah, I think so. Because in Qatar, first of all, you're not supposed to discuss all of those things.
Right.
You know who a transgender person is,
Mhm.
but I don't even think. I think most people were using derogatory terms for them as well. But at least that mindset was there that I would know who a transgender person is, but had no idea you could be gay or queer or bi or non-binary or any of that stuff. So even when I was in Lloydminster, I didn't know about it. I think it was still quite conservative. People they would not expect anyone to actually be openly gay
in real life.
and happy, right? So
Mhm.
I still remember what happened in university, and I just got this understood this a few years ago. There's this one guy, his name is Kim or Robert Kim, and all it said was a Facebook event when Facebook was big back in the day.
Mysterious.
It's a Facebook event of Rob, or I forgot his name. Rob Kim is coming out, or his coming out. And
Scandal.
It was just like a joke. It was kind of like, for them, the homophobia was so funny. But I didn't get it. And I was like, a few years later, several years later, I'm like, oh, that was to make fun of him. And I don't know if he's actually part of the community or not, but I know he was like one of the more popular kids or whatever, and it was just to make fun of, like, just as a joke, and I'm
Yeah.
like, wow, that's so bad.
Yeah, and you're saying this was like when you were in Lloydminster, this
yeah,
was?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's so true. Even like I was living in the Lakeland, so Bonnyville Cold
yeah,
Lake,
yeah,
which is why we're like kind of gagged over it. It's
yeah,
so
yeah,
funny that we grew up kind of close. But even then, like people would use that so gay and like tease
yeah,
people. And
exactly.
I think it's a little better now. Like a friend of mine was on the podcast and they're a teacher in
Okay,
high school. And
okay.
like they say they still hear it, but not as often. So it's nice to see things shifting and becoming maybe a bit more open, even in these smaller communities that you and I came from.
It's so important. I think I told my friend, because I was still trying to figure out being bi, and one of the most irritating things about being bi
Mm.
is that unless you experience, or unless you have an experience, at least for me, I knew I liked girls, but I only really liked mask girls at that time.
Yeah.
And predominantly now as well. Similar to what my wife looks like. So it was hard because I was getting maybe some interest from guys, but none from girls. So then it's like, are you really bi? Like, no one's really
that's
interested in you. No, you're not
sad.
dating anyone. But where was I going with this point? Well, where did you stop at?
Well, I was just thinking as you were speaking there, that's something I've
Oh,
heard before about like bisexuality.
bisexual. So what I was gonna say with Lloydminster was that I told my friend I was 18. I think when I was 18 to 19, I was really trying my hardest to figure out what's going on, because I'm out of Lloydminster, I'm out of Qatar, I'm in my own space, creating friends and all of that.
At this point, you're in Calgary?
Yeah, I'm in Calgary.
Okay.
I'm at UFC now, and then I come back. I come back home to visit my parents and my friends, and then they said, I said, like, I think I'm bi, and they're like, oh, you're just like completely did not believe me.
Kind of dismissive. Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, and yeah, it was quite sad, and I thought, when you grow up, you mature, and you are more inclusive, or like whatever, right? You just become more mature. And yeah, that
Hopefully,
didn't, and that didn't end up happening, and then I ended up stopping. I ended up not talking to anyone. Like, I think I talked to maybe one person from
We're
my
the
high school again.
same. We're the exact same. I
That's
think
it,
there's
yeah.
2 or 3 girls that I still talk to. And some of it is it's just so far away that it's hard to keep in touch with people. But yeah, the way I was living when I was in Bonnyville Cold Lake, I was very much in the closet. I didn't know myself. I was very shy. And so I feel like if I went home now, perhaps lots of people wouldn't recognize me because it's been such a life-changing journey
Correct.
leaving.
Yeah.
And I think some people, they stay in small towns because they love it or they can't leave. I think it's such an important thing to have that experience of going somewhere else.
Exactly, right? Just at least to get another experience. When someone's lived in one space for so many years, how do you grow as a person? How do you know what other cultures are like, and all of that? So, but if that's a preference, that's a preference, right?
It's
and
true.
your family's there and all of that, and maybe some people don't have the means to do that. But 100% life-changing experience when you move out and get to know other demographics of people, and just learn new cultures and grow on your own.
Yeah, and I even think for you on a bigger scale, like going from Qatar to Lloydminster,
it was
the culture
a huge shock. Yeah, huge shock. But I think one thing more than anything, what I believe in is everything happens for a good reason.
That's beautiful.
And although there were experiences that weren't great, I had really great experiences. I wasn't doing that well in school in Qatar. My mom was a teacher at the same school. My brother was a topper, super, super smart guy, still is very smart. But I wasn't that book smart girl. I have to put in a lot of effort to understand a concept. So I'm still like that. Yeah, I passed my CPA at once, but I felt like I have to put a lot of effort in. I'm sure everyone feels that way.
Yeah.
But I think I fall somewhere in the spectrum of ADHD. The first time when I went through high school, first time I went through high school, it wasn't that great. Until grade 10 in Qatar, I was almost failing. But when I came here, I had the opportunity to redo that, right? I got because the curriculum is a bit farther behind in the Saskatchewan curriculum. So I had the opportunity. So I was really grateful for that. So I felt like I understood more, and I learned more about connections and witnessing all of these culture shocks were just unimaginable and so great. So a lot of good learning experiences.
Mhm.
And I think it's really made me the person I am today. Initially, when I had moved to Canada, I kept pushing away my Indianness or
Yeah. That
maybe
happens
my
to people.
queerness,
Mhm.
because you want to assimilate, and
Yes.
and not even that you just want to assimilate. There is a pressure. There is a
Mm.
pressure where even though they don't say it outwardly, I still remember, and I don't know what this girl's name is. I think maybe Amy, but she I'm like just naming these people.
Yeah.
I don't actually remember them.
Generic name. Let's go.
I think it's Amy. She was, I think, a year younger than me. I had just gone to her house to just hang out or
Mm.
some project or something, and my dad was trying to pick up, and she just heard my dad's accent. I was like, "Hey, Amy, my dad can't find your house. Can you help?"
Mm.
He started talking. He's like, "I'm so confused," and he was so confused. Like it was 20 minutes. It was some other part of the town, on another side of town.
Mm.
And she was just laughing. She's like, "Oh my God, your dad's Indian accent's hilarious."
Mm.
At that time, I was like, "Oh my God, I know."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Appa, just cut the call." And now I'm thinking back, I'm like, "Dude, what is wrong with you? Why would you
Yeah.
say that?" He
Yeah.
was talking in English. He was talking with proper grammar, everything. And you
Mhm.
like, what? What is so funny about
I
this?
hear that. It resonates. Like I even think about one of my like a partner of mine in the past. She would imitate my mother's accent and stuff and like trying to tell a funny story, but it always made me uncomfortable because obviously it doesn't sound anything like my mother. It's kind of like a caricature, a
Yeah, yeah.
stereotype. And I never at the time talked to her about it because I didn't know how to vocalize the way
Yeah.
it made me feel. But now upon reflection, just like you, I'm like, oh, I can see now that perhaps maybe she wasn't trying to be malicious, but it still didn't make it okay.
It didn't make it okay. And I
Mhm.
think that's the thing is that they don't, like, people don't come from a malicious place,
Yeah.
but at
It's no
some point you need to
exposure.
learn, right? Like at some
Mhm.
point you need to learn that these things are not okay. You just sound dumb. Like, like who are
Yeah.
you trying to impress here?
Mhm.
Not me.
Mhm.
Like,
It's
and I'm the only
true.
one beside you. So I don't know
Yeah.
what you're trying to do. But it's just, I mean, more than anything, she's a kid, right? She was 15
Yes.
when she
Yeah.
made that, or like, I don't know, 17, 16 or something. That's still young.
Mhm.
So who should have taught all of this? Your parents. So clearly there are it's generational. It's a generational issue, right?
Mhm.
Like, yeah, just because you don't outwardly say something, those feelings are there, and
Those biases.
those
Yeah.
biases are there, and you need to make the effort by yourself to change your mindset, and then your family's mindset.
Yes.
So
You know, you speaking to that, it reminds me, a friend of mine is actually working in Edmonton right now with the Edmonton Queer History Project.
oh, cool.
And they grew up in
Okay.
Bonnyville too.
Okay.
And they found an article from the local newspaper in like the 80s or 90s that was somebody anonymously submitting their experience of growing up queer in Bonnyville back
Oh,
in
wow.
like, again, the 70s or something. And what I found so fascinating about it is this person went to high school in the same place as me, maybe 20 years, 30 years before I did. But their experience was almost identical to mine, like in the 2010s.
Really?
Yeah, like
Damn.
in terms of isolation.
That's not great.
No,
That's
and
horrible.
stereotypes. But what fascinates me is that friend that sent me the article, their
Mhm.
mom works at the high school and is the drama
Mm.
teacher. And the mother said that all of the students, like only 2 or 3 of them are straight. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like openly queer, openly
Oh.
out in Bonnyville, less
Now.
than
Oh, wow.
10 years from me graduating. So it's like there was this period of, I call it like cultural stagnancy, where I think
Mm.
because these communities are so far away,
Mm.
like they don't have the same like access to information as say the big city.
100%.
But now
yeah.
the internet has
Yeah.
just changed everything.
Yeah.
So think about like how crazy that is even between our experiences. It's not that long
That
after.
far, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for them, man.
Right?
Like,
I know.
you're
I'm like, maybe
they're
I will
killing
go
it.
home for the holidays. Like.
Yeah, not me. I mean, no, not because of that. I actually don't have family. Everyone does
Yeah.
live in Calgary except for my dad, but but we do have to go visit him. So I will go back to Lloydminster. I actually took Tina to Lloydminster for one of my friends' weddings.
So what did she think of it?
I think it was just like very small. She's from she's from Bangladesh, from Sylhet. It's a big like Maulavi Bazaar. It's a town, but still bigger than like Lloydminster.
Yep.
And then she lived in Montreal when she came here, and then Calgary. So it's like all big cities, right? So it was kind of like she didn't think of anything. It's just like, oh, another town. Yeah, like
I know. I have to take my partner because the thing with my family that we'll get into is it's very much like small baby steps with them.
okay.
I've never been able to bring a partner home for Christmas or anything like that, so it's still a ways off.
Okay.
But inevitably, when I take Sarah back to my hometown, I think she's gonna lose her mind. She's from Edmonton, which it's like a smaller city, sure, compared to Montreal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But still a city. She hasn't seen like my origin
You don't even have to
story.
explain this. Like
No.
I know she's gonna freak out. It's gonna be so weird.
She'd be like, there's
Is there nothing to do here? This is your downtown.
No, they got a McDonald's after I graduated from high school, and it was like life-changing.
Wow.
Life-changing in the little town.
Damn, man. Damn.
Yeah. But, looping it back to, you were talking about Daisy experiences and bisexuality. I'm just curious, perhaps like for audiences that maybe haven't even heard the term Daisy before, what does it mean?
So Desi to me is anyone from the South Asian subcontinent. So normally in Canada, Desi music music normally tends to be Punjabi music or North Indian music, but that's not true. Desi music can be South Indian music.
Wow.
It can be Nepali, Sri Lankan, Bangladeshi, Pakistani, anything. But yeah, normally Desi is normally connected to North Indian Punjabi music because of the population here. It's mostly
Right.
Punjabi people who are here, which is like they have amazing party music, so like super lit. So I don't mind that, but yeah,
Super lit.
yeah, but it encompasses a lot more. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Because even me, I didn't know all of the details of it. Actually, a roommate of mine, when I was younger in university, she was a practicing Hindu. So I had a little bit of exposure, like from living with her.
Yeah.
So it's just nice to hear the extra information behind it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think mostly North Indian people use it, or I don't know, maybe the younger generations use it. I cannot imagine my parents saying, I'm Desi. Like they'll say I'm South Indian, like which is what I am as well. But yeah, definitely more of maybe a newer thing or a more of a North Indian term being used. I think it changes according to who you are. Like if you're someone from India, then I'll say or you're someone from the South Asian subcontinent, I would say I'm South Indian. I'm a South Indian Canadian. But then if it's someone who's, I don't know, from like Belgium, I would say I'm Indian Canadian. Like it really depends on what I assume you would know. But if it's like Desi is just a really easy word instead of South Asian.
Okay.
That's how I would say. So I started an organization called Rang De Pride in Calgary that is essentially trying to bring together the Desi queer community or South Asian queer collective of allies and queer people. So it's a space for us to enjoy our own music, our own space without being maybe judged or excluded in a way that can just naturally happen. I don't think anyone does it intentionally, but can naturally happen. So when I do a lot of my marketing for events, I say queer Desi drip or queer Desi, because Desi is 4 letters instead of saying South Asian.
Yeah, it's so much more easy.
So that I would say if I ever really use that word, it's for that instead of to just make it easy for people to understand what it is. Yeah.
Thank you so much for telling me that. Like, I really appreciate being able to understand the nuances behind that word a little bit better. And it feels like it gives me more insight to your community, how you understand things.
Yeah.
I just feel really privileged to be shared with that. Thank you.
Why? Why are you privileged?
No, it's just like I feel like it's so special to be invited into people's communities and cultures and to learn that knowledge behind it.
Yeah.
And it just feels like, I don't know, it's really great to get that connection.
I
want
to know more about how like the Tagalog, like and how in the language there is, queer references or, words being used for different sexuality within LGBTQ, because I don't actually know. I know all of these are coined in a government-based document in Tamil Nadu, or something came out a few years ago, and where they coined all the LGBTQ terms, and it was so cool. But I don't know, is it pretty well established in Tagalog? Do you know?
It's so funny that you say you want to learn more about it, because that's me too, right?
Yeah, like I also
trying
want to learn more about
dive
it.
in and learn my own language and history. But in an episode that we shot for this season, even we talked to Francesca Dynamite, who is a Filipino queer drag queen here in Lethbridge, and she taught me a bunch of Becky language. So this is kind of like a behind the scenes teaser for people who are watching the
Okay.
series. Bakla means gay.
Oh.
And then Becky language is just like gay slang,
Okay.
essentially. So she taught me madre, which means mother. There were a few other ones. Do you remember them, Aaron? There were a bunch of them. Korak means correct. Like, so there's different ways that we speak to each other.
Do you watch RuPaul's Drag Race Philippines?
Yes.
Okay.
It's so good. I am biased. It is so, so good.
Okay.
I love it.
I don't, but I always see teasers for it and I want to watch it.
You should.
Yeah, I
100%.
want to watch it. Yeah.
Of course, again, I am biased, but I think it's the best one. I think it's the best spinoff, but that's just me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I'll watch it. Don't
Mhm.
worry.
But yeah, no, I think it's so cool to learn about, like, because we see North American, quote unquote, experiences of queerness all the time. And it's typically thin, able bodied, white bodies. So to learn like how you view queerness from your cultural lens versus me learning mine, I just find it so fascinating.
You know what? Yeah, and it's nothing bad. It's just that we
Mhm.
need to move away and
Yes.
diversify, right? Like, okay, in the 90s, yeah, we had Queer as Folk. Yeah, I fucking watched every episode of Queer as Folk, and it was so hot. Like Brian was like, do anything to me. Like I love it. Like
In the thunder and rain, we're here.
yeah, like he was the epitome of. I mean, for me, is it Brian? I think his name is Brian. Anyway,
Mm.
I think people watching this will understand. He's the hottest guy who doesn't have. He has commitment issues. He has all of these things. Like he was the epitome of gay, like gay sexiness. Like even for someone who's bi, right? Of course, he would never be interested in me. But for me, that was so hot. And there's so many shows that were like that. That was like, it wasn't politically correct and everything. Same with Sex and the City and all of that. But, it was just such good shows. But then we're still stuck there. You know what I mean? Even now when I talk to my friends who are, recently I've had a lot of South Asian Desi gay like best friends. And two of them are married to each other. Guys, and then one guy, he's single, and he's still they still say like on Grinder, it's like that, those levels, right? Like East Asian on the bottom and white on top. It's like that's
100%.
still normal. And more than anything, when I started doing these events for Rang De Pride, one thing Tina had to remind me is I was thinking, why don't Desi people want to sign up? Like this is amazing. Like I would pay anything to go to these events. Not like, I'm not saying the quality is like absolutely amazing. It's this magnificent event with like chandeliers and all that. I'm not saying that, but to have a space to
Community.
community. You're people. You're looking at people who look like you. You're dancing to the songs you want to dance to. That you can scream it at the top of your lungs and all of this. But there are still some people, and they're going through their own journey. So no judgment. But they would rather see if this event will be good enough, and it doesn't have enough white people, or like they're more comfortable in spaces where kind of racist to their own community.
Isn't that fascinating? Like in a morbid kind of way? That's sad.
Yeah, it's very common.
Yeah.
Very common in general with Indian people. They would rather hang out with other people who have other races, or white people rather than Indian. But they look down upon that. And there are definitely some people who did that for our last event, and it went really great. Like people wanted to stay past 2 a.m. partying and just being with like all of us, and almost everyone who signed up came, which was so nice. But there were still people like that. So that really is interesting to me, that we got to move on, and it's that's more, I feel like, of self-acceptance. Like it has to come from within, right? And maybe I'll just end off by saying, if you're ever curious to come to a Rang De Pride event, do come, check it out. I know we're all, for the most part, not very well connected, because I grew up the same way. I barely had any queer friends other than my wife. Like she was my only queer friend and only queer person I knew at a point. And most of us did have friends who have other races or other or white friends from the queer community. But I would say our culture and our queer culture is also very, very beautiful. So if you're curious, come and explore it and come to a Rang De Pride event. I think if anything, you'll at least make a friend, and that's all. Even if you didn't like
Sweet.
the event.
Even if the event, meh, you make
Yeah,
a friend.
maybe you'll find someone interesting. So
I love that. And I can't help but agree and resonate with what you're speaking to, because yes, there's nothing like necessarily wrong with queer spaces in Calgary. It's just that you go and there's such a different feeling when you're surrounded by, again, people who look like you or who share similar experiences as you and can understand those cultural nuances. It's like a whole, like, you can just breathe and relax and be seen and be heard for who you really are.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I don't think most people judge you, but it's also not
Mhm.
like people come up to you and just talk to you like that. Like they'll just
Yeah.
look, and that's the weird part is that they'll look and then they will walk away and be like, I'm
Mhm.
too fabulous to talk to you. And I'm like, why? Like
Yeah.
I'm also fabulous, talk to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I totally hear that.
it feels a little exclusionary at times. I don't think it's
Mhm.
done on purpose, but it does happen.
Yeah, and part of why I'm excited to bring you onto the show is like I know that you are already hustling and making a name for yourself on Instagram and etc. Like you're doing great on those platforms, but this is another chance to amplify the work that you're doing, and perhaps other
Yeah,
members of your
thank you. Yeah.
community, they
Yeah.
can find you and go to your events, because I think more people that do it, the more accessible it is, right?
Yeah, and
Mhm.
we really do want to create a family. That's why I want to do it, is to create a family, create a
Mm.
space where I grew up thinking I didn't have anyone else that looked like me that is
Mm.
experiencing what I'm experiencing. No more. If the next generation is going through the same issues as me,
Mhm.
nothing has changed, and I haven't done my job. Even if
Mhm.
even if my one of my videos or one of my events is changing one person's mindset, they are going to change someone else's mindset, and that's
Mhm.
the only way change is made. Sure, everyone doesn't want to change their mind, and they don't have to,
Mhm.
but if I can do something, right? There were people before me in Canada and in India who put their lives
Yes.
to let me live. They sacrificed their life to live, for me to live this life. Then I have
Mhm.
to do the same for the
Mhm.
next generation until everything is equal, right? So
Mhm.
yeah.
I feel that. I really, really do. Like, as you're speaking, I think about how my mother sacrificed her ambitions and dreams, and her dream was fully to provide a better life for me and for my brother. Like, that
100%.
is a
Yeah.
gift that, like, I get chills thinking about it. Like, you can
Mm.
never repay it. And I would be remiss if I had this life in Canada that she built for me and gave me, and I didn't try to do the same, like you're
Same,
saying.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
that's a very, like, something a lot of immigrant children, whether second generation or first generation, because they see it from their parents or
Yeah.
grandparents, they just understand it in such a different way.
100%. You're
Mhm.
right. Yeah.
Oh, I just got
Exactly.
goosebumps all over my skin talking about that.
No, 100% agree.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. And talking about family, one thing I did want to touch on is you shared with me just in the past that perhaps when you first came out to your family, it wasn't an easy journey, but now, like, your dad drove you for this interview today.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was in his big ally sleigh.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like they're really, really on
I want
board.
you to say ally slay in front of my dad.
Yeah,
I want to see how he
eh.
what he's like. Okay.
I think he's just going to
thanks.
look at me.
Yeah, I don't think he'll know what
Yeah.
you're saying.
No.
But I do want to see how he reacts to
Yeah.
that.
We'll get it on behind the scenes footage.
Yeah. Yeah. So initially, when I told them, because I myself was trying to figure out, am I bi? Because there was no one who looked like me, or I didn't know where to go.
Representation.
Exactly. There were definitely spaces at U of C. I think it's called Out and something. And they had their own studio where you can just go and chill
Oh,
and meet other people. I think I was too scared, or I didn't know how any of this worked.
Yeah.
Because if you're gay, then at least you only like one sex of people, but you're bi, so you're like going out to clubs, and that's also fun. But then you're trying to figure out this other side, but you have no queer
Yes.
friends. So
Mhm.
anyway, so there were spaces, but I was having a really hard time. So I was doing all these BuzzFeed quizzes and all of these
I love it.
cosmopolitan quizzes.
Millennial slay. Let's go.
Exactly. So then they decided that I was bi. Then I
BuzzFeed
figured
decided.
out. They decided I was bi. And anyway, I was definitely bi at that time, but I just didn't know. So I was dating this guy. He was my best friend at the time.
Right.
We don't talk as much anymore, but he was also my boyfriend. And he was like, yeah, if you're bi, just you live your life, okay? Like, as in you are who you are. I'm not gonna change you or anything. I'll support you.
I mean, go him.
Yeah,
That's
no,
so
yeah,
nice.
what an awesome, like,
Mhm.
that's what you should do. And he is an awesome guy. He was an awesome guy, boyfriend, and super supportive. And I told my parents, he's like, okay, tell your parents. Like, and then when I told them, they were like, uh, um, when I told them, their reaction was, this is not natural. This was
Wow.
just something that most people experience. Don't worry about it, you'll end up. So
Which also is like, that's a little fruity from
yeah,
your parents.
I know. I'm like, is everyone bi in my family? Like, is this reality? Cool.
Gay
like,
empire.
yeah,
We're here.
Exactly. And my party, my grandma also said the same thing. I took her to a Italian cafe where they were playing jazz and all, and having in the mall. And she was like, yeah, everyone goes through this. And that's what, after a few years, I'm like, really, is everyone actually bi? Like, what are you talking about? This is insane.
Yeah.
And yeah, so then until I didn't really date many girls, like maybe short term girlfriends. But essentially, when I got to Tina, like, I don't know. I think I had like 2 girlfriends and like maybe some other people I had fun times with in between. But like handful like
Fun
of
times.
girls. Yeah. Like had fun times. And then I met Tina. So the girl right before Tina, my mom knew about. She was not impressed, and I was
not
also
like
not impressed
her.
because she that was not that relationship was for one purpose and one purpose only, and it was fun.
Sometimes it's like that.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, you just
Sometimes.
have a good time. Like, but at the same time, she asked me to pay for all of the dates. So I'm like, dude, I don't make this much
Maybe
money.
not so good of a time.
Yeah, I'm like, you gotta step up. Anyway, that ended. And then my mom was not impressed with that. And then when I met Tina, I waited 6 months to tell them. And until we got engaged, there was a lot of, I wouldn't say aggressive manipulation or anything, but I think they definitely said we were like from at every stage, they were not comfortable with Tina or accepting her. And they did want me to get married to a guy because I'm bi, right? So
I feel like kind of maybe sometimes folks, their parents, if they're not super on board with it, they hold on to that. Like bi means potentially with a guy or a cisgendered heteronormative relationship.
Yeah, exactly, right? So they were just waiting. And then when Tina went and asked for my parents' blessings before proposing to me, everyone knew the plan and all of that. But I think my parents, told her that they weren't fully giving their blessings, but they will. They do. They love me. They want to support my life. Anyway, so cut to after being engaged. Now, though, you are engaged. Now I'm getting married to her.
Yeah.
So then I think they fully understood that this is Subhi's life. We need to accept her life now and accept her partner. And then they really started understanding who Tina is, because then we started living with my parents. And my dad moved to Lloyd, another city, to work at that time. So it was my mom, grandma, me, and Tina. And my dad was living with us for a bit. And it was like a joint family,
you
right?
Really
like,
get to know each other.
Yeah, you really get to know each other. They saw how I had a checklist. It's a guy or a girl or a non-binary person. You have to have these things, right? And the great thing about being a South Asian Desi girl is that sadly you're brought up to think that you have to cook, you have to do this, you have to do that. You have to adjust yourself for your in-laws. So both of us grew up that way as a girl. So then she did everything, and then I also did everything. Like, it's not just that it's not that I just worked or I only cleaned the house. You know what I mean? Like, our gender roles, like the roles that we take on are very different.
Yeah.
So honestly, Tina is so amazing, so responsible, and so caring. She does everything. Like what a groom would do, like a son-in-law, and what a daughter-in-law would do. Both of them cook every day and go change the tires and do this and do that. So I was like, you should be lucky. Like, she does literally everything in the house. You guys should be lucky. If there was a son-in-law, you think he will be cooking you lunch every day. This is insane.
Yeah.
So to be honest, like, that's very, very lucky. And yeah, so then they started accepting, and like right after the engagement, maybe a few months after, they we all planned the wedding in India. I think my dad had some reservations of having the wedding in India because, political uprising or something, people trying to attack us. And then I told my dad, after I had this realization, I'm like, who are we? We don't have money, that much money. We don't have any political power. Who's going to come attack us? Like, people have other jobs.
They have priorities.
Yeah, because we were so worried after the wedding too, because there were so many articles and newspaper clippings and all of that, right? Articles and all of that. And we just got really worried. Then I'm like, Dad, Appa, like this is too much. We're no one. We're literally no one. People live here and get married.
It's gonna be okay.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fine.
So now it's like a reality that I never even ever expected. Like, I cannot believe this is my life. I watch my own wedding video and I think it's someone else's, because I cannot believe what that is and what life we're living. Like,
You're gonna make me cry. Oh my goodness. Like, it just makes me so happy for you. And I think like this ties really well to one other thing I wanted to talk to you about is like for people that have a different culture or ethnicity, they're living in a different country, often the family that you have around you is like your biggest tie to home and your culture, right? And I think for those of us that are queer, something we're afraid of is coming out. Even if we have wonderful parents, you're always a little afraid that something might change and you'll lose that tie to your identity like we talked about.
Exactly. Yeah. What we had talked about earlier is for me, for anyone who has maybe grew up somewhere else or has another ethnic background other than just purely being from Canada, you do lose your identity if your parents don't accept you. It doesn't just have to be a queer experience. It can be an experience of a cis-het couple who are intercaste, have an intercaste marriage or inter-religion marriage where the parents don't talk to you anymore. So now for example, my wife, she grew up until she was 16 in Sylhet and then in Bangladesh. Then she moved to Montreal. Then she was like, holy, I'm definitely gay. And I'm like, yeah, like I love
Confirmed.
this. Yeah. And for her, like her parents never accepted that. They knew, when your family knows something, but they don't talk about it openly.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. You're like, yeah, I know. So when they, so they never accepted. She ended up having, like, there was family pressure and she ended up marrying someone else, like a guy. And they got a divorce and all of that.
That's hard.
Yeah, it was very difficult. But what happened in that time is, first, you're away from your family. So she wasn't there anymore. And they already cut ties with her because she was divorcing the husband she married and living her life. So now you don't know the type of food on how to make. You can't just call your mom and be like,
how do I do this?
How do I make this, right?
That's what I do. If I need to know something, I couldn't imagine how much harder it would be.
Because each family, each group of people, who even if they're Bangladeshi or Filipino, they all make it differently. That depends on what people in Palawan, they make it, each city make it differently, right? Like adobo or something. Every family makes it differently. So the ingredients you use. So you do lose that, and then you lose your language. Then you start losing your idea about how do I do puja at home. Like the way I do puja at home, like a religious ceremony, is very different from how her mom does puja at home. What they cook for and give prasad. Prasad is essentially food for God that we give every morning before we eat, and water, right? So we don't do that. We keep a fruit, but they keep water, and and what auntie does is she washes all of the idols. So that's how they do. But like, all of this goes away slowly as you stop talking to them, or they don't talk to you anymore.
You lose it.
Yeah. And I just recently posted about how my in-laws came and they spent an amazing time, and then they left and they blocked us. So, but now what happened, we just had a puja yesterday, a really beautiful puja called Satyanarayana Puja. And all of my parents were there, Tina and I, my grandma, and a few of the Tamil folks who actually did the puja for us, and like family friends. So it's all Tamil people, no Bengali people, but we made a Bengali dessert as prasad for God. And it was not working out exactly how her mom had made it. It ended up working out and it was great. But we couldn't just call because we are blocked.
And ask,
and ask. So it really sucks. It really sucks. So, and yeah, you cannot, how much ever you write down, you're not going to, unless you fully write it down and video record what she did.
I know.
I
the
cannot-
exact
yeah.
thing, because especially with food, I find for my mother, there's never measurements. Of
Correct.
anything.
Yeah,
It's just a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and she knows it because she's done it so
Yeah.
many times.
Yeah.
So trying to learn it, we always want a recipe or whatever. It's not how it works. No, you just need to be in the kitchen with your mother or whatever it is.
Exactly, have those, and you're right. As queer people
Mhm.
who have that reality where you are not close to your family, that is your reality, then you will lose your culture, and that's another reason why these Rang De Pride events or any Desi queer events are so important, because
Yes.
the moment you start feeling that, then it sucks, right? It's really
Mhm.
sad. So then at least a little bit you can bring that back at these events. Talk to someone has the same background as you, and
Mhm.
yeah, see
Or
how they're
even if
doing.
they're, I think what your events too could be really powerful for is people like me who were born here or maybe mixed. Say they're wanting to reconnect and they don't know that much.
Yeah.
They can go to a space with people like them and learn about
Exactly.
who they are. Like
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think like the last thing I want to touch on is you were speaking about it a little bit there, how with Tina's family, unfortunately, it being a bit more toxic and harder, you've really stepped up as her partner to like learn language or share language, pardon me, to share food and make sure she still feels connected to who she is, even if she can't speak directly with her family openly.
I definitely can do a better job, but I at least try that we don't leave out her identity fully. I mean, or that she doesn't do it. I know she gets irritated when that dessert that we made, it makes her mad, because it's such a psychological issue. It's not just one thing. It's just not that dessert is not working out. It's that I cannot call my mom. My
Mhm.
mom
that's
did this to me.
huge.
There's so many things. So in that moment, if I take it as an example, I'll just be calm. I'll just say like, let's think of a logical solution on how to work this. And then it's too liquidy. Let's keep it outside for a bit, come back, and then make the shape. Like it's I don't even know. I don't think you have the background or what I'm talking about.
I'm
but-
seeing it.
Yeah, I'll show it to you after.
Yeah.
But essentially, you put it in this little. You know what? I don't even know how to explain it myself.
I just
Anyway,
have to eat
it's
it, is what
Shandesh.
it is.
Yeah, I should have brought some
Mhm.
Shandesh. So you have to put it in this thing that makes the shape. It's like imagine Play-Doh into the
Like a
shape
mold
maker.
or whatever?
Yeah, a mold.
Yeah.
You got the word.
I got
Okay,
you.
a mold, and then so just keep it outside. So anyway, it ended up working out. But I think I can do a much better job where I do want to learn Bengali as a language, and I want to learn Tamil also because I only learned it in first grade. But I want to learn Bengali so we can continue that and do, or at least do those pujas. So like Saraswati puja, and they do pujas that are not different from, because Hinduism is Hinduism, but we don't normally do that. So trying to do those things, as I try as much as I can, but I want to get better at it for sure.
Well, I think even like it's different, but me dating Sarah, she's white, born in Canada. She makes such an effort to learn about my culture, even the pronunciation of words. She tries really hard to get it right.
Nice.
When she met
Good.
my mother, I've shared this on the podcast before, but we have something called a mano, where you have an elder hold out their hand and then you bring it to your forehead and it's receiving the elder's blessing.
Blessings.
Yes,
Oh wow.
yeah.
Nice.
I taught her how to do that with my mother and she was so nervous, but she did it and it made my mom laugh because my mom's not that old. So
Oh,
it was
you're
kinda
like,
you know.
do not. I'm not giving you mano right
I
now.
know, but it broke the ice, right?
Yeah.
And so just when your partner takes that
100%,
care and that
yeah.
effort, it means so much to me. Even if it's not perfect, they're trying.
Yeah, they're
Mhm.
trying and
Mhm.
they're really trying to understand your culture and make it part of their life as well, right? That's the main thing. It's not just for show. It's actually you're making an effort just being there for your partner and making their family your own,
Yes.
right? It's marriage and relationships are a marriage to the family. It's not just to the person, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And I feel like this is just telling me that we need to have another conversation. You're gonna be like a series regular on the podcast or
Sure,
something.
I'm down.
Because I feel like we're just touching the surface of what we could talk about for being queer in Alberta, for our different cultures and experiences. It has been so amazing to have you on the show.
Yes, same here. I was like, this drive is really long,
I
but
know, you did so good.
but then yeah, exactly. also wanted to come, so that was interesting. But no, it was good, and it's really nice to meet you. And you're
You
doing
as
such an awesome
well.
job
Oh, thank you.
of bringing queer stories in Alberta, which are maybe not that that it's not a popular topic to think about. But you're doing an awesome job. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, I feel like I made a new friend today, so that's my favorite
Yes,
part.
you did.
For sure.
Yeah, you definitely
We have to
did.
make some food together or something. I love
Yes.
to learn how to make this mold situation you were
The
talking about.
yeah, Shondesh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Tina would be a better person. Both of us would be good
Yeah.
to show you that. But yeah, I'm ready to move to Philippines.
Let's do it. You've had
told
pancit,
Tina.
right?
I was only
noodles?
eating pancit canton when I was there.
Yeah. I'll make you some.
Everything I put on a lot of weight because that's the only thing I was eating.
So, Big Chef, for the audience that is listening, I know they all fell in love with you just as much as we did. Do you want to share your social media or any upcoming cool projects that you want people to stay tuned and follow you for?
So my handle is Queerly Subiksha, QUEERLY Subiksha, on Instagram and TikTok. What's coming up is more Rang De Pride events. So check out our page, RANGDE Pride, Rang De Pride, to see what upcoming events are coming up. But as for me, I am trying to create a YouTube channel. If anyone is interested in this channel, let me know. I'll post there on longer videos because you can post very, very, very short videos, and clearly I like talking a lot. So let me know. But other than that, there are some really amazing projects coming up, and I'll keep posting about them. So
Awesome. You should
watch out for
totally
it.
do it. I
Yeah.
see you on YouTube immediately.
Immediately, okay.
Immediately.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
As soon as you go home, you and Tina, you got to shoot that first episode of something.
Oh God, to get Tina to film something, it's like she's a diva actress. I need
She's
to
a
have
diva.
lights ready,
Love.
script ready, everything ready for her to just come,
Work.
do the shot. It has to be done in at least at most 10 minutes. If it's not, then yeah.
Her commission through the roof.
Seriously, actually, no, this is real.
Okay. Well, I love that so much. And again, thank you for coming on to the show.
Yes.
Could I ask you-
Dreamers.